Golden Eagles were home this past Saturday for Military Appreciation Day. They took on one of their longtime rivals, the Thundering Herd of Marshall University. The Golden Eagles get a 26-24 win. And Hop, we had talked about it last week. You finally got the ball to kind of bounce the Golden Eagles' way. You guys,
yeah, we did.
You had some bad breaks in a couple of games before that, but finally kind of got some going the Golden Eagle way.
That's something we talked about Saturday morning as a football team. It has been one of those years where it just hadn't really bounced our way, and the second quarter didn't bounce our way at all. But we said we keep fighting and keep digging. Sooner or later, that tide is going to turn. And what a huge play by Ty Williams, because we started off with the punt, and then we had a Tate turn one over there early, and then we were kind of back against the wall. And what a huge play by Ty. He makes the big pick and brings it back, and our offense gets juiced up, goes in, and ties the game. Then the play by Yancey right before half was huge. We had a Calls fumble off of a great pressure, and Yancey picks it up and scores. So that was huge. And again, Kyle Hemme made another big play in the third quarter. So a lot of big plays by our defense. Give our defensive staff or the players on defense a lot of credit there. They created a lot of turnovers Saturday.
You never know when it's going to happen, but in that game, as you mentioned, you get I guess 14 points there in a matter of about 60 seconds on the clock.
That's right.
So you just never know when it's going to happen.
You don't, and that's something that again, it was good to have a few breaks. Something we certainly we hope that tide catches up and. So hopefully we can get a few more in the rest of the season. But that was you create your opportunities, and defensively we did that. We created the turnover off the, I won't say sack calls fumble, but off the quarterback strip. And Ty and Kyle created turnovers off the pick. So again, we had a big hit inside the red zone. So we created those turnovers, and that's what we have to do.
You mentioned Tate Watley. He got his first career start for the Golden Eagles. All in all, how did you think he played?
I think he played extremely well. Tate's a competitor. He, again, with his legs, with his arms, he gave a gutty performance and kept a lot of plays alive, did a lot of good things. Again, his first start to go out and beat a good Marshall football program is really and you're only going to see him get better and better and better, John. So I thought he was really good and excited to see him in the future.
Give Marshall's defense, they played very well against the Golden Eagles, but you guys were able to make enough big plays. Quez Watkins had a couple of big plays. Not a guy stepped up, made some big plays for you.
Yeah, he did. DeMichael had a big play. Quez had a big play. A couple of those plays were really critical. Again, Tate did some really good things. So, again, we were able to make big plays at critical times and move the chains and keep the drives alive.
Into the ball game, they make a little move there. They needed a couple of scores. They ended up getting the touchdown, but then you make a nice play. Jordan Mitchell makes a nice play on the onside kick.
It's a big play by Jordan. It's the second year in a row that Marshall game has gone down to our hands team, and we did a great job there. Jordan got up high, fielded the ball securely, so iced the win. So a great job by our hands team.
You and I were talking, Ike, the other day on the radio. Is that it's funny how many of these Southern Miss Marshall games come down to the end, and a lot of times to maybe a play in the special teams. This wasn't a special teams play. I guess it was a kickoff and an onside kick, so went down to the wire again.
There's not many times I can remember, maybe only one time that we've played Marshall that it hadn't been a game that went down to the wire. And of course I think next year we're off the schedule for about 5 or 6 years, so we won't see them for a while. But that was a typical Southern Miss Marshall game, hard fought, back and forth, and we were able to make enough plays in the fourth quarter to secure the win.
I was ready to go to JUCO. I didn't know much about Southern Miss. Well, I knew about Brett Favre coming here, but far as Sammy Winder, and I didn't know they went here. And my dad used to talk about Sammy Winder and Mr. Dixon. I was like, oh, they went to Southern Miss. I didn't even know that. So I was like, you know what? It ain't too bad of an idea to come to Southern Miss. You know, I can make a living here, you know, play football, you know, everything be all good. Well, while I was growing up, I played Pee Wee ball. My first time going on the field, my coach had yelled at me and I started crying. But my coach, my Pee Wee coach had told me, he said, if you want to be out here, you got to be a man if you want to play football. So, you know, I sucked it up, and that's when it all started. When I was in junior high, I played basketball. Played basketball a little bit for about 3 years, up to my 9th grade year. Then I quit because I wanted to focus more on football. Well, my dad, first of all, he always tried to make us eat healthy when we was little. He said, you need your protein, you need your protein. Then he'll have us outside jumping tires, running through tires. We had a little weight bench outside. It was kind of rusty, but he'll have us out there. Then my uncle Lawrence, he used to have me and my brother in his backyard. He used to have this little training regimen going on. He'll make us run through tires, run up hills. Then my Uncle Jeremiah, like he used to, you know, he'll give us advice on what we need to do, how to get bigger, how to get faster, get stronger. So all of them tied together in our lives, me and my brother's lives, and it helped a lot. As a defense, we try to get all the linebackers in. Like we'll text each other in the group chat, hey, come watch film. Hey, we need to know this stuff. Hey, we only got like, 4 days to prepare for the next team. So yeah, we'll try to get in there, watch film a lot. Watch about an hour and 30 maybe, then we'll go on about our business. Then when we go out there and practice, hey, we see that formation on film. Hey, we know what play they finna run. So just give the call, hey, they finna run lead. Hey, bump over, teach your lineman over. Sometimes you have to be patient. You have to be patient with your turn. When I was a freshman here, you had B.A., Brian Anderson, you had Allen House, Terry Wright, Penn. They all took me under their wing and they showed me the playbook, how to, you know, what's going on or what the secondary going on. And it took some time, but for the younger guys, I tell them, hey, it's gonna be your turn. Your turn is coming up, and when it come up, you got to be focused, you got to be ready, and you have to know what's going on. So they, younger guys look up to me. They ask questions from time to time. Hey, Saint, what's going on? What you doing this? What you doing that? So I try to take them under my wing. If I'm watching film, hey, y'all come watch film with me. So. Well, I'm not really a video gamer guy, so I like to play pool. Oh, I like to cook. I love to cook. The reason I love to cook is because when I was small, my mama just used to, like, we didn't have a lot of food because she had cancer. So she get different foods and scrape it up together, and it'll be a big meal out of nothing, like cabbages and noodles. Like, how do you make a meal out of that? But yeah, I learned from her, so I love to cook for my family and stuff, and I love to shoot pool.
My tennis career, it started 25 years back. I was back in India and I had the opportunity to work with the Vijay Amritraj family, and they gave me my first break. And back in those days, the concept was just to have 8 of the best kids in India, room and board, study and play tennis. That was the concept, and it was the first of its kind in Asia. And that program produced Junior Wimbledon champion, US Open champion, world #1 junior. So it was very successful. And since then, I've been, continuing with my coaching. I went to Malaysia, then spent 10 years in Thailand working with elite players there, and then finally made my way here because, college tennis intrigued me. And I felt that's a challenge I wanted to embrace. Recruiting is a big part, and it's the personal connection that makes a difference. And always like a balanced team where we have a mix of players from different cultures. So that helps us to get together and get the camaraderie going, and it makes a difference when you have a good mix of players from different cultures. That's what I've been striving for. And I'm looking for kids that are very humble. They come from simple backgrounds. They're hungry, they're into it, and yeah, they're willing to do what it takes to be successful. I think the program is in a good place. This is the best that's ever happened in 37 years in terms of the win-loss record, in terms of first time win over Rice, which has never happened in history. And I think the next step for us is to get into the national ranking, the top 50 ranking, and compete for a championship in the final. I think I would say definitely we are up there in terms of the strength. It's our team is very strong. We did well last year. We won the Conference USA, the West Division Showcase, 3-0. So I would feel we are definitely one of the strong teams. Rice has traditionally been strong. ODU won it last year. So there's not too much that separates the different teams in the conference. I think tennis is a wonderful sport in the sense that it teaches you about life, and through life you learn about tennis too. So both are sort of interconnected. So if you don't understand life, it's not going to help you on the tennis court. So I'm always like talking to my players about how they are off the court makes a big difference of how they are on the court. So that connection is very important, and tennis has that wonderful connection that you get to deal with challenges off the court, and that's how you get better with challenges on the court. I think the pride to be dressed in black and gold gives me a sense of pride, gives me a sense of feeling that I need to contribute, I need to make Southern Miss great, because everything depends on how well the school does. So I feel it's my responsibility, and I'm given the charge to get Southern Miss to the greatest heights it's ever been in tennis, and we're on the way.
Been thinking about it since I was a kid.
Mom would be so proud.
If I could do it for a living.
Using my mom's recipes to open up a cupcake shop.
For my daughter to go to vet school.
Singing karaoke in all 50 states.
Captaining my own shrimp boat.
Tell us what you dream about. With the right loan or savings plan, we can make it a reality, no matter how crazy.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Keeping you within reach of what matters most. We're Bancorp South, and we're right where you are.
You got me falling hard, sweet baby, you got me falling hard for you. And still, I felt this way before, you know it's true. And still, you got me more and more. Oh, you got me falling hard.
Well, the mentality of an offensive lineman, I don't care what level you're talking about. I mean, you can talk from middle school, high school, even into the pro. You're a unique individual. I mean, you have to do a lot more work, most likely just because you're not as athletic as everybody else. Hopefully you're stronger than everybody else and can make up in that department, but your attitude, because, we're not like defensive backs, we're not like wide receivers, okay, that play out, in space. We play in a very, very condensed trench, and I say trench because that's what it is. And I mean, you have to have that mentality that you are going to win your one-on-one battle. All right, play in and play out, okay, for the guy next to you. And that's important too, is to understand for the guy next to you, for the guys behind you, for the guys out on the perimeter. I'm a firm believer in whatever we're doing up front, obviously branches out. That's why it's so important to find a center. I had one with Devin Ferrier last year. Devin, I wish, there's one guy, that I wish I could have had it for a couple more years. You know what I'm saying? But I got a good group of them right now, with Trace Clopton and those type of guys. Trace is a highly intelligent guy. Devin was a highly intelligent guy. And how they play branches out. Guess what? It's the same trickle-down effect or domino effect, whatever you want to say. How you're playing up front is always going to trickle from the back end to the perimeter. And that's why it's so important. It's why it's so unique to be an offensive lineman. It's the mentality of that, understanding that you will dictate and obviously manage the game the way it's supposed to go. I don't know exactly the technicalities, what the numbers were and what they weren't before I got here, but putting in a plan is so important. And, working with Coach Hopson previously at Alcorn, I saw that plan executed to a T, and the success that obviously happened in year 2 to 3, okay, and what is still currently happening right now. Coach McNair, the guy that took over for Coach Hop, obviously was on staff. We worked together. Obviously still using a lot of probably what Coach Hop instituted at that time, on top of his own ideologies, which is normal, okay? But again, where was the foundation set? Jay Hopson. I think that's what everybody understands what Coach Hop's doing here, okay, is building back that foundation, okay, that people are going to look back here in another 2 years, especially, and be like, okay, this is Southern Miss. Southern Miss is back to what we're used to it being. And I mean, it's being represented the way it's supposed to, in both on the field and off the field, and that's what's most important. What it means to me to wear black and gold every day, and I said this when I first got here, and I don't know if I'm ever going to vary from this answer. It's such a responsibility. We talked about it earlier, talking about the guys that have been here wearing the black and gold, both on and in the offices. Let's talk about Coach Bauer, Coach Carmody, all those, Coach Collins, all those guys that were here, even Coach Monken, all those guys that were here, okay, all right, especially through the time that you really understand, through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and stuff like that, even early 2000s. It's important because you're going to hear about it, and that's the best thing. It's nothing for. It was awesome, seeing Coach Collins and some of those guys coming around and listening to them. You enjoyed. If you enjoy coaching, you enjoy listening to those guys. And I tell you what, I think that's the biggest thing is when you approach it from a responsibility standpoint, things always going to mean a lot more to you.
Mr. M12 resident, I present to you John Cox for induction to the M12 Alumni Sports Hall of Fame.
What an exciting day for the University of Southern Mississippi and for John Cox to be inducted into the M Club Hall of Fame. It's hard to even think about the University of Southern Mississippi without thinking about John Cox and what he has meant to this university for more than 4 decades. Because of John Cox, so many people across our country have a better understanding and appreciation for the University of Southern Mississippi.
John and I spent a lot of time together, enjoyable time, some of them not so good. We won a lot of games, or we were at a lot of games where USM won. We even lost a few occasionally, but John's done an amazing job for the university, a job that most people don't appreciate, certainly don't know about the hours that it takes to do it. I congratulate him on being in the M Club Hall of Fame. It's something he's deserved for a long time, and he'll be a welcome member and a productive member for him going forward.
There's several things that John Cox means to me as well as the university. Me personally, I mean, just a guy that has just mentored me through this broadcasting part of my career. The short time that I've been there, John's just been unbelievable to me, and also a guy that was here when I played football. So, a lot has changed, but one thing that definitely has been constant is John Cox. I mean, to wear the black and gold and then to work with John, it's just been unbelievable. Now to the university, he's a guy that's he's just an icon here on campus. I mean, he talked about what Southern Miss means to him, but I mean, he means a lot to this university as well. I mean, the dedication, the support that he has given to this university. And I mean, he's a superstar. He's a superhero on campus. And if you turn on your radio station on game day, you get to hear his voice. And so many people may recognize his voice even more than recognize his face. But John Cox is definitely somebody that is loved by this university, and he just means the world to him.
It's an honor that he should have had a long time ago. I'm just glad we got him in this year. And John's just one of the best. He's always very good with people, and I know he was super with me when I coached. And of course, we went to school together way back. I was a couple years ahead of him, so I've known him, 40-something years, and he always gives his all, and he's a great broadcaster and a good friend, and he's always positive, most positive person I ever met. So I think the world of him, and he doesn't slow down. It seems like he's got a lot left in him, and we look forward to it for the next few years.
John, obviously we've become close over the years. He's the ultimate Southern Miss guy, and if you've seen here tonight or today during the ceremony and stuff, that so many people have talked about how John is such a positive person. Has he ever said anything mean to anybody? And that's completely everything, 100% true. Being around John makes you feel better. He brings light to your day and stuff. And what he does in the radio booths, it speaks for itself. He's done it for 40-some years. Amazing job. But John as a person has touched many people's lives throughout. It's come and gone through the Southern Miss. And I couldn't miss it today. So,
the most deserving person maybe that I know of that's finally gotten inducted to the Hall of Fame at Southern Miss is John Cox. We've tried to induct him probably starting about 20 years ago, and he wouldn't even talk about it. He said, no, I'm not coming, I don't deserve it, and this sort of thing. He's one of the most humble guys that I think I've ever known in my life, and he has meant more to this university than any single person I think I could name. And I told our AD not long ago, I said, when and if John Cox retires, you better prepare to get about at least 3 people to fill his shoes. If you really realize all the things he does at this university, it is unbelievable. I love the guy, and I wish him the very, very best. And I've never enjoyed working with or being around anybody any more than I did John Cox.
Well, the Golden Eagles now turn their attention to the Blazers of UAB. That's a Saturday night ball game over at historic Legion Field. Before we talk about that, Hop, though, I guess one of the biggest news stories regarding Golden Eagle football in the last week has to be former Golden Eagle quarterback Nick Mullins. He got a chance to make his first, not only his first career start, but his first ever game in the NFL. And, boy, he grabbed the national headlines and went out and got a win for the 49ers.
Yeah, vintage Nick. I got a chance to watch the first 2 drives. So we'd just gotten off the field with our Thursday preparation, and I was still doing some work, but I'm gonna watch my man for the first 2 drives, and he sliced and diced them pretty good. And I remember one of our young GAs said, "How do you think he's gonna do?" I said, "Well, I can promise you this. He's prepared for him as hard as anybody, and he's ready to go. And he'll be a guy that is mentally going to be in tune with everything that's happening in the game." And it was vintage Nick. You watch him. He went out there and put the ball in play, put the ball to the right people, accuracy. That's one thing about Nick. He's an extremely accurate thrower. So just great to see him do what he did. And actually saw his mom at Eagle Walk. She was at Eagle Walk at our game against Marshall, so I had the opportunity to give her a hug and just tell her I'm proud of her baby. And it was he's just a special guy. And Nick's a guy that, again, you're just going to see more continued success from him, because he's a guy that every game, I never knew Nick not to be, he's one of the most intense studiers of the game that I've ever been around.
Everybody, all the national guys seem to be surprised, and I guess because he's an undrafted free agent and all that, maybe it was a little bit of a surprise. But if you've been around Nick like you have and I have, there's no question he prepares just like anybody for every game, no matter how big or small.
That's right. Well, it just goes to show, when you get into the NFL, sometimes it's a beauty pageant, and they look for this height or this. But one thing you really can't judge as a football player, and Nick's a football player. he's a guy that it doesn't matter what the stage is, what the situation is, he's going to go out and execute, and he's going to be a guy that always gives you a chance to win.
And it's been funny. It's amazing, really, how many Southern Miss guys are now playing in the NFL. I think it's 15 or 17, something like that, a quarterback in Austin Davis, another guy.
Right.
And so that kind of shows, you can come here at Southern Miss and you could make that next step just like you could anywhere.
There's no doubt about it. And I've been blessed to be around both of those guys that you talked about. And you can come to Southern. We've had some of the best that have ever played the game. When you look at the history of Southern Miss, and you look at two NFL Hall of Famers in the last 5 years, and Brett and Ray, and it's just a special place with a special pedigree.
All right, let's talk about what's coming up for the Golden Eagles. You got a Saturday night matchup over at Birmingham against the Blazers of UAB. They've gotten off to a tremendous start this year. It's another one of those really experienced ball clubs. They got a lot of guys back from the team from a year ago.
Yeah, and again, we're back in the Conference USA play. I'm a worn-out record, John. I say it all the time. And another tough opponent. We know we got to be prepared and ready and have our A game ready. We know UAB is an outstanding football program, well coached, talented team. So, we got to come ready to play. We've had a good week, but we got to continue our process.
All right, well, congratulations on the win against Marshall, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Coxie.
All right, Coach Jay Hopson of the Golden Eagles hit the road. They trip over to Birmingham to Legion Field to take on the Blazers of UAB on Saturday night, 6:30 kickoff time over there in Birmingham. Don't forget, Mondays we're at Georgia Blue for the Golden Eagle Hotline. Come on by, visit with us, and we'll sit around, talk a little Golden Eagle football. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time. Another inside look into Southern Miss football.
I am more than just your local pharmacist. We eat at the same restaurants, and we give back to our community. At Rogers Family Pharmacy, we are dedicated to keeping you and your family happy and healthy. Download the Health Mart app to your mobile device and easily enter your refills, pill reminders, and so much more. Rogers Family Pharmacy, where we treat you like family. Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
Hey Southern Miss fans, it's Toby Barker, Mayor of Hattiesburg. Mickey Spagnola once wrote, "If you're going to war and you get to choose first, choose Southern Mississippi. Always choose Southern Mississippi. Don't fight Southern Mississippi, because no matter how hard you fight, those folks will fight harder." His words capture the character of our institution and our city. We here in Hattiesburg are writing a new story, one where we rise to our challenges with great excitement, one where we push our city to reach its potential, and most importantly, one where there's real partnership between the University of Southern Mississippi and the city of Hattiesburg. Southern Miss is vital to our city's success, from the quality of life it provides through athletics and the arts to the talent it cultivates in the classroom. We share a common destiny. Hattiesburg is proud to be Mississippi's college city, and we hope as we go forward you'll join us in supporting our Golden Eagles this season as they go to the top.